Welcome to the So Much More Than Real Estate podcast. I'm Patti Matthew. I am your host, and this is a podcast where we talk about real estate and all of the things it can do for your life, all the areas, love, health, wealth, and time to enjoy them. I am here with Melissa Derenzy today. Hello, Melissa.
Hello, Patti. How are you?
Good to see you, hot mama.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Yeah, so you are here and you have a lot going on.
A lot going on, a couple new grandbabies, and just living life. It's great.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
I can't wait. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
So tell me a little bit about, well, to start, you look amazing.
Thank you so much.
You are down 54 pounds?
About 54 pounds now. Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell me everything.
It started about a year ago, and I'm not going to lie, I've used a little bit of help, but we all need that little push sometimes, and it's gotten me to where I am today, and I'm a few pounds away from my goal weight, and I've never felt better.
You look great.
I can move more, I have more energy, I am ready to go.
And what sparked it? What caused you to say, okay, enough, I'm going to do this? Did you remember that moment?
Exactly remember that moment. I saw a picture of myself. My stepson and my brother were visiting, and we took a family picture. And my mom posted that picture on Facebook. And I saw that, and I said, this is not how I want to be. I was expecting grandbaby number 2 at the time, and that's not the grandma I want to be. I don't want to be the grandma that they're embarrassed about, the grandma that can't get on the floor and play. Mm-hmm. I want to be the one that's playing on the floor, carrying them around, and just having a good time. So that was the exact moment. I went and made a phone call, and the rest is history.
So what's it been like being able to roll around on the floor with the grandbabies?
Fantastic. I have more energy than my daughter-in-law and my son.
So when you go to Texas, you're scaring everybody, right?
I'm scaring everybody. I'm like, let's go. What are we doing next? What are we playing? Where are we going? You know, taking the 2-year-old to the children's museum and the zoo. We're doing all the fun stuff that I probably would have been too tired to do because I was at a very unhealthy weight.
Well, and good for you for taking charge because that's powerful. I mean, how empowered do you feel now?
And I'm not afraid to admit I turned 50 this year, and that's a big deal. And I didn't want to go into my 50s feeling like I did at the end of my 40s. So
that's thanks for sharing that too, and putting that out there because because I'm 54. Mm-hmm. And, we go through life, we've raised our babies, now it's time for us.
Yes, absolutely.
And to take care of ourselves, to give ourselves permission to put ourselves first. Mm-hmm. That's not always an easy thing to do. I mean,
it's not when you've been putting your family first for years and years and years, and all of a sudden the family's doing their own thing, and so now it's time for you to do your own thing.
Yeah.
And this is giving back to my family.
And it's great too because in that last, that's over 50, you kind of get this attitude of do what I want,
yes.
Who I want.
I'm getting it already.
Yeah, and you also went through some personal changes, right, in your life. Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely.
Share that a little bit?
About 2.5 years ago, I went through a pretty intense divorce. It was something that I didn't see coming. I was totally blindsided by it, and not what I was expecting. Our kids were out of the house. I thought we had the best years of our life ahead of us, and that changed. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what that will do. I sunk into a hole for a little bit, but I sought help. I'm not above seeking therapy. I'm still in therapy now. We all have things we can work on. She doesn't help me so much anymore with the feelings from the divorce, but it's just more talking with somebody once a month, I bounce things off of her and, tell her the progress I've made because I had some major boundary issues. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to be able to say, hey, guess what I did this month? X, Y, and Z happened and this is how I handled it. And we all need that sometimes. And getting an outside perspective to the things in your life, it's totally different than talking to your mom or your best friend. My best friend sees my side of things. Yeah. She's going to always have my back. Where a therapist is like, listen, you're being a brat. You can't be doing this. And she talked me off the ledge a few times, and there was a few things I wanted to do that she told me was not healthy. So
and that's great that you've really made a significant investment in yourself in all areas, right?
Absolutely.
With your weight is life-changing. Mm-hmm. I too shared the story. Last year I embarked on a weight loss journey, very similar. Got my hormones checked, and I would highly, highly recommend it Any woman out there, don't wait on your primary care physician to set you free. Go set yourself free, find a functional doctor.
And it wasn't my primary care physician. He told me to eat right and exercise.
That's what I was told.
And I was okay, my eating was probably not the greatest, but I was doing boot camp 5 days a week, and it was not budging. I was actually gaining weight.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the muscle that everybody thinks it was. I was gaining weight. And so find someone that will advocate for you and give you what you deserve, and do your own research.
What you deserve. You got to give yourself permission if you need a little help, because we only get one life to live, and I embarked last year on a journey for weight loss. I'm down 45 pounds, feel like myself again, feel great, have the energy, because you know what, I'm worth it, you're worth it.
Absolutely.
And
if we had to quote unquote cheat a little bit, then we cheated a little bit.
Well, it depends if you see it as cheating or getting help, right?
It's definitely getting help in my opinion, but
yeah.
Others sometimes see it as cheating, but it's okay.
So let's talk a little bit about real estate, right?
Yes,
so not only do you look great, you feel great, you also have a new man in your life.
Man's been there for a couple of years.
And again, because you were willing to invest in yourself. And again, to add to that, having a therapist or a life coach.
Yes.
Don't look at it as expense, look at it as an investment.
It's $100 a month. I spend that getting nails done.
Yeah.
And, I'd rather invest in her.
Yeah.
And have her give me the tools I need.
Watch out, Melissa's on a roll.
I'm on a roll.
I'm going to keep going. So, you've been in real estate. You were licensed in 2020. You were a COVID agent, right?
In March. I took my test in February and didn't become officially licensed until March of 2020.
Okay.
So right when COVID hit, which was super great timing.
For a moment, it went down and then it shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as a new agent in the middle of COVID, it was a little trying. Thankfully, I was on a great team,
Mm-hmm.
and otherwise, I don't think I would have lasted probably 6 months. It was a lot.
So what caused you to get into real estate? Take us back to the origin story, but when did you start thinking about becoming an agent?
So I moved here 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My now ex-husband was in the Air Force, and so that's what caused us to move here. When I first moved here, I worked for a pest control company. I was the manager there. I didn't know a single thing about pest control, but I got to learn about, termite inspections, and that you have to have those when you have a VA loan. So little things that added up to learning more about real estate.
Okay.
That didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to as a small company, and so I decided to go into on-site HOA work, and I worked at a high-rise down on the Strip. That is interesting. What
was interesting about it? Tell us everything, all the gritty details.
So when you're on the Strip, first of all, you're on the Strip, so you got a lot of crazies, but there were some celebrities that lived in the building, and so there's a sense of entitlement that came along with it. It was just an interesting place to work.
Right.
And so I did that for about 1.5 years, and then my ex-husband retired from the Air Force, and we decided to make Vegas our home. But then he got a job with the government. And this job, he was going to be gone a lot. And then when he was here, his schedule was all over the place.
Okay.
And we decided that I needed something that had flexibility. Kids were gone. We needed some flexibility. And we just talked about it, and we kept going back to real estate. And Brandy Nixon was my realtor when I moved here. I found her on the spouses page, and
Nice.
She helped us get our house when we moved here. And I started taking the classes, and I called Brandy in February, and I said, hey, let's go to lunch. So I met her for lunch, and I said, hey, just so you know, I've been taking classes, and I'm taking my test tomorrow. And I said, I'd like to join your team once I pass. And she's like, okay, whatever. I wouldn't say she blew me off, but she didn't seem as excited as I was. And so I took the test the next day, and I called her and said I passed. And she's like, well, okay. She's like, I will meet you at the office tomorrow night. And so she met me here, and the rest is history.
And you're kind of like that. You're full of surprises. You go out and just do things. And
I have a lot of little things that...
We've spent some time together at conventions, and I'm always amazed. You just, I worked here, or I do that, and then you just kind of pop up all over. And where does that come from?
You never know what you're going to get. I get it from my dad. My dad has this... You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. Last month, he was planning a trip to Korea or Vietnam or somewhere for like a month. Well, this week, they're going to Panama for 3 weeks instead. And it's just, he just decides he's going to do something. Or he applies for jobs. He's been retired for 20 years. He's like, yeah, I have an interview in, wherever, in Germany. I'm going to go back to civil service work. And he's just, and I do the same thing. I am the exact same way.
Yeah, you kind of pop up everywhere, right?
Yeah,
Even you're doing something for the Mom Museum.
I still do that. I still work events at the Mom Museum about twice a month.
Wonderful.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
Once or twice a month. In fact, Thursday night I'm working a birthday party for a 90-year-old woman, so in the speakeasy.
Okay.
So it was kind of fun.
You know, it's something I've learned too that Brandy's always kidded about it is there's kind of like 5 to 7 degrees of separation with Melissa. No matter where you go, you're running into people. You have this magic kind of pixie dust, right? No matter where you go, you're running into somebody who knows somebody.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of my questions is your superpower. So tell us a little bit more about that because real estate is still about connection.
Brandy, she jokes about it, and she tells our clients a lot that. You probably know Melissa. She's probably your second cousin. You probably went to prom with her, you know. Yeah. And it started off as kind of a funny joke, but now it's getting to be a little bit like weird.
It's manifesting itself in every way.
Yes, the first one, or the most significant one was we had a buyer that was coming here. He was PCSing here from Nebraska.
And what is PCSing?
Permanent change of station. So military coming here on orders. Him and his wife showed up. I knew nothing about them. Brandy had taken the initial call. I was meeting them to do showings. And we chatted a little bit. I said, you know, my stepdaughter lives in Nebraska too. She's stationed there as well. And we get talking and he goes, what does your stepdaughter do? And I said, oh, she's a dental hygienist. And he asked her name, told her the name. And he said, she cleaned my teeth last week. And he goes, in fact, I do all of her tattoos. And so he knew, I mean, on a personal level, didn't just know who she was, knew her on a personal level. And, that's just one of many stories. A couple that is from the same small town in Michigan that I was born in, town of like 2,000. Another guy, I grew up on Guam, and his family owned the bar that I used to hang out at, and he was the primary bartender there for the years that I would go there. Just lots of little things.
Was your father in the military?
Yes.
He was. You mentioned that. So
23 years.
So tell us a little bit about that because, again, you're part of the team. You're part of the Nixon group. And you highly are concentrated and specialized in military relocation. Tell us about military. What does that mean to you? You're also part of the Keller Williams military network. So tell us everything.
So my dad was in the Air Force for 23 years, which meant we traveled and moved a lot. I think at last count, my parents counted 31 homes that we had lived in. That's a lot.
Thank you for your service.
Granted, I wasn't there for some of them, but for a majority of them, we were there. I was there. We went to Guam 3 times. We went back and forth between Guam and New Mexico. That was kind of our, what we did. You know, a lot of times you stay at this specific bases. And my dad always put in for Guam, so that way he wouldn't have to go to like Korea by himself. If we went to Guam, we could go with him. But I remember as a teenager, I have 2 younger brothers, the stress I could feel from my parents, not knowing if we're going to live on base, if we're going to be living off base. We would get to the next duty station and we would either have to, you know, be drug around looking at houses with them or stuck in the base hotel, us 3 kids, while they went to look at houses. And I just remember how stressful that was. And fast forward, I became a military spouse and we moved here. And then I got to see firsthand how stressful it is.
It's generational. You had to start as a child and then as an adult.
How stressful it is to not only move someplace that you didn't get to pick, but someplace you don't know anybody. And like I said, I met Brandy on a Facebook group and I was like, hey, listen, we need a place to live. And a lot of times, military can't go to their next duty station to look for homes. You know, we rely on other people in the new community to help us. And thankfully, we were able to come to Vegas about 2 months before we moved here and meet with Brandy. And we got to see some houses in the neighborhoods we wanted to be in. But we didn't commit to anything until we were back home. And we moved into a home that we had never seen in person. And granted, we just rented when we first moved here because we didn't know what we wanted. And we gave up a lot of money to someone who we didn't know. And thankfully it worked out. But that's what I wanted to help people with. You know, I understand what it's like to move to a new town, not know anybody, and have to find a place to live.
So what type of, given your experience and now being in the business 5 years, what type of concierge services, relocation experience do you specialize in? What are some of the things you do to help your people move to ease some of that burden?
So we have quite a few clients that purchase the house sight unseen. And
military people are very motivated.
They're very motivated. They have a deadline. They have to be here.
Yeah.
They what we did when we moved here is we told the man that was driving our truck with all of our worldly possessions in it, we gave him $500 in New Mexico, and we said, if you will be there on Monday morning, which was 4 days, if you'll be there Monday morning by 7 a.m., there'll be another $500 waiting for you. But we needed that address to be able to have the stuff delivered to. And a lot of our families have that same thing. They don't want their stuff to have to go to storage or, just be sitting somewhere waiting for our house. And so we understand the timeline. We understand that they're a little bit more in a rush to get into something. Yeah. So we just understand that a lot better than a lot of other people who've never lived that life. We had one couple where I didn't meet them in person until the day we closed. I met them at title, and that was the first time I met them. And they didn't see their house until we were waiting for it to record.
And how does this service continue now that they've moved, right? It's stressful, they have the urgency more than most people. What happens after the closing? Do you help them acclimate to the new community and schools? Tell us a little bit about that, because it's so much more than just buying the house and moving. It's now that they're here, there's so many things for them to learn in community.
I do really well with, okay, you have a dog. Okay, there's a great vet that's just down the street. I've used them for the whole time I've lived here. My daughter used to work there. Mm-hmm. The same couple that I met on closing day, I've babysat for them before. She called one day and she's like, I have a doctor's appointment. She goes, my husband has to go with me and the kids can't come. And she goes, we don't know anybody. And she goes, can you come watch the kids and take them to school? I'm like, sure. She goes, you're the only person we know. And they had just met me a couple weeks before. Mm-hmm. But I was literally the only person that they knew.
Because the military community is strong.
Yes.
It's very, very tight on. Definitely take care of their own. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that you're affiliated with is not only the military, but also talk to us a little bit about you're an ambassador for Keller Williams military and also some other things. Tell us what you're affiliated with.
So a lot of people don't know that Keller Williams has a military.
What do they need to know about that? Yeah.
Anybody can join. You don't have to be a veteran. You don't have to be a spouse. You don't have to be affiliated with the military anyway. You can just be a supporter of the military. Okay. And what it offers you is an ability to connect with other agents who do specialize with the military. Mm-hmm. There's a referral network. We have a Facebook group. We have a learning series. You can do it for free, and then you can do it for $99 a month. We do calls every week, which are fantastic, whether you're associated with the military or not.
What does that do with the referral network? I mean, referral network, I think it's pretty massive. I mean,
absolutely.
There's an ocean of opportunities. However, the referral network, what are you learning in that space? You're getting business from it. Who are you connecting with?
So I have a bonus son that is in the Air Force. He's been in for 13 years now, and he lives in Alaska with his family, and they are moving to North Carolina. And I was able to put him in touch with an agent in North Carolina who's retired military, and he actually did the same job in the Air Force that my son does. And so they could connect on that level. But it's someone that I knew was going to do a good job only because he knew the struggles of the military. Okay. My son and daughter-in-law, they bought this house sight unseen. They closed last week, and who knows when they're going to see it. I think it's another 4 or 5 weeks before they're actually going to see their house that they've purchased. Wow. So they're going to make their first house mortgage payment before they actually see their house. So, but this allows me to reach out to other agents who know what the military entails and the special struggles that come with that. And it's just nice, at family reunion and meeting all the people we've met, we see on Zoom calls.
Yeah.
It's just a nice community, and it's really good, great community.
And the family reunion is the convention for one of the many conventions Keller Williams has, and that's really where the magic comes to life.
We did our first 5K this year. The Keller Williams military did the first 5K down the strip.
Yeah, and you were pretty impressive because you had walked, I think, 30,000
something like that. I think it was like 11 miles that day. By the time it was all said and done, it was about 11 miles. So.
How does it feel to be part of that community? And then when you do connect and you're able to spend time with those people, what does that do for you?
Well, like you said, Keller Williams is such a huge business. There's so many agents, and it's nice finding your little area where you can get to know people. Like the people, last year was my first family reunion. So I met a bunch of people then, but it was nice to see them again this year and reconnect and be like, what are you doing? I've seen you on Facebook doing this, and I like this event that you put on. It's just a great way to get to know other agents in the business.
Yeah, it's a big world.
It is a big world.
It is a big world. So much more than real estate, personal, professional, and then the financial development follows. But if we focus on the personal and the professional development, part of that network makes it sticky.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then tell me what it's like being on a team. Now, some of the teams, they come in all different shapes and sizes. You happen to be, again, in alignment. Brandy is a military spouse, specializes in military, so that's super important. When I meet with people and they're thinking about starting a team or joining a team, some people are for it, some people are not, but it's that alignment. This real estate can feel very lonely.
Very much so.
How has that helped you? What have you learned in that process? So what are some of the benefits about being on that team?
Well, I don't know what it's like to be a solo agent because I went directly in and joined Brandy's team. And we've added some people, we've taken some people away, and now her and I are the Nixon group. And I absolutely love it. I love that I can reach out to her and just say, hey, listen, this is what I'm thinking of doing. And she'd be like, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. Or, yeah, you need to think about that some more. We have a great system in place. I'm more the boots on the ground here and handling a lot of our showings and some of our listings. She handles most of the back end work because she likes that part. I hate that part. I would rather
the yin and the yang, the peanut butter to the jelly.
I would rather be showing houses and being in front of clients, and she would rather handle all of the nitty-gritty things that I don't like to handle. I will do it, but I prefer not to. And so we work very well together. And our clients know that you get both of us. You're not just going to get one. There's going to be times you talk to me. There's going to be times you talk to Brandy. Most of the time, we're going to talk to both of us.
Yeah, because it's not a big team. It's just the two of you.
Yeah, it's just the two of us. I mean, there used to be more of us, but it's okay. We're great with just the two of us. So we work very, very well together. And I calmed her down, I think, a little bit. She can be a little
intense.
Yes. I love it. Yes. I love it. And I'm more a little laid back, I think.
Yeah, so. Brandy wants to conquer the world all in a day.
Yes. That's our Monday morning phone calls kind of turn into that. We're conquering the world some days. Other days we're just, conquering what's right in front of us.
So tell me a little bit about all of the success that you've had. Tell me, you recently took a gap year. And
we did.
This is a business. I know, I've been in it for 33 years. You can work 24/7 in this business. And just starting in 2020, we spoke about some of the life changes you went through. To take a gap year, most people will not be able to get off the real estate ride. I mean, how did you do that? What caused it? What did you learn?
So it wasn't really intentional. Brandy and I did not both sit down and say, listen, we need a break. It was more just, we're going to take the deals that come to us, but we're not going to actively pursue anything. And in fact, I mentioned this to you earlier, that I took a job working for a casino here in town doing admin work, and thinking that, maybe I just need like a regular 8-hour job where I clock in and clock out. And it took about 3 weeks for me to realize that I do not need a regular clock in and clock out job. I did not enjoy someone telling me when to take a break, when to go to lunch. And
you're a big girl.
I'm a big girl. I don't need to be told that at 10:20 it's time to eat for me to go to the bathroom. I want to do what I want to do. And it came to a head when it was time for me to go down to Texas because my second grandbaby was going to be born, and I was told I couldn't go. And I believe it was 3 days later I gave my notice. I had therapy sessions scheduled, or anyways, so I talked to my therapist, and she's like, you need to quit. And I'm big on signs in the universe. And I got in the car, and a song that's important to me was on the radio. Not on my playlist, it was on the radio. And so that came on. And then my little lender girl that I call her, she called me about a potential lead. I call her my leader girl. She called me about a potential lead, and I'm like, okay, so I'll give this guy a call. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm ready to buy right now. Okay, great. Well, then a renter I've been working with that was kind of on the fence, he's like, I'm ready to commit. He's like, let's go. Let's start looking at houses. And that all happened within 15 minutes of me driving to my 8-hour job. Talked to my partner, and I asked him what he thought, and he said, I've told you since before you applied for this job that you don't need to be doing this job. And so I went in and I quit. And he my supervisor was like, is there any way I could talk you out of this? And I said, absolutely not. And I said, I wanted to take off to go meet my grandbaby, and I got a no. And I said, and I had told you about this before I was hired. And he said, he's like, well, I'll give you the time off. And I'm like, no, because this is just the first thing. What about anything else that comes up that I want to be able to take off and do what I want to do?
So it was a blessing in disguise. You dipped your toe in that water.
I dipped it in and I took it out right away. It was not
so the moral of the story is you're unemployable.
I'm unemployable.
Yeah, like so many, right? Like
Yes.
so many people who get into this business to become unemployable. There is something that says people will give up their money for their freedom, but not their time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And
My time has value, and they didn't show me my value with first of all with what they were paying me.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just not where I needed to be. Absolutely not where I needed to be.
So the perspective now, because that was when did you do that?
I quit in November.
Okay. So there's no going back.
Absolutely no going
Yeah.
back.
So the gap year allowed you to have that space.
Mm-hmm. Brandy and I had to talk about it in December. We both agreed this was our gap year. We both needed that. We needed this time to just kind of relax a little bit and not be so focused on our business and where we want it to be.
And I lost my train of thought. Your business didn't really suffer. You still had a decent year.
No, I had
right?
a decent year. I was
Yeah.
able to support myself. I
Yeah.
mean,
So as if business was at a standstill, you gave
it was
hard sometimes. Is it sometimes hard to have faith over fear?
absolutely.
In this business, the
Absolutely.
roller coaster ride of it all.
You could be doing
Mindset.
great, and then you're like, I'm never going to get another deal going, and then the next phone call you get is someone who's ready to buy right now. I mean, you just don't know.
How do you deal with that mindset? The ups and downs of it. It takes
It's hard.
Okay.
And it's hard not to think of the negative. It's hard not to just like, I'm not doing good at this. I'm not doing very well. I'm not being successful. But I just keep going. I just keep looking at, what I've done over the past 5 years. I'm further along than I ever thought I would be.
Yeah.
And I've helped more clients than I ever thought I would.
What advice would you give? I mean, you keep going, but when that darkness can creep in sometimes in this business, what advice would you give anybody?
I get out and do something. I just move my body and get away, step away from it and stop focusing on what you're not doing or what's not going on, and just step away for an hour, 2 hours, the whole day, and just get away. Find a book that you need to read, just pick up something that is going to change your mindset, because it's all about what's in your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I'm doing more business this year so far than I did, last year, almost all together.
Yeah.
And
we're in April.
or April
We're
1st.
just not done with the first quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you just get in your own head. It's, you get that imposter syndrome.
So what are we doing when we're not working? You're visiting grandbabies. You're out and about. You pop up in like different places.
Traveling.
What is
I've got
it
my
doing for
very
you?
first cruise scheduled from the beginning of next month. I've never been on a cruise.
Ooh.
So I'm doing that. I'm going
Where
to
you going?
Maui for 10 days. For my cruise, we're just going to Ensenada and Catalina Island. Since I've never cruised, I want to do the short one first and see if I like it. And then Maui for 10 days in July. So yeah, that I just started volunteering with the USO, the United Servicemen's Organization.
Yeah, and there's a little tip on that too at the airports, right? Is there?
They're at the airport, so they're at the bases. They have buildings at the both bases, Nellis and Creech, and then they have one in both terminals. So Terminal 1 and 3. There's just
At Harry Reid.
Harry Reid.
Yeah.
And basically, it's just a place where active duty military and retirees can go and hang out. They can get free snacks and watch TV and movies and charge their phones. We've got nice comfy chairs, and
You don't have to have a credit card with points and
Nope,
pay
you don't have to have
annual fee.
You don't have to. Well, you have to have that military ID card.
Yeah,
But besides that, but what I didn't know is the airport has a full gym, which is actually a fantastic gym. I got to tour it, and so we give our service members a pass where they can go shower or work out, whatever they want to do. But if they have a long layover, we did a bunch of welcome homes this past weekend. I didn't get to participate, but they were coming home from deployment. And so we get to escort their families back to the gate and get to welcome them back home from their deployments at the gate with their families. So
Yeah, that's a heartwarming.
it is.
Yeah.
It is heartwarming. I really enjoy doing it. It's great.
Yeah. So what does the next 5 years in real estate look like? Where do you
I
see
don't
yourself?
know. I think Brandy and I are going to keep trudging
Keep
along.
doing
Yeah,
what
we're
you're
going to
doing?
keep doing what we're doing. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think we got past our gap year, and now we're just sailing by.
So if you were given an extra 10 hours in a week, what would you do with those 10 hours?
I'd like to say work out, but that's probably
Why not? It could
Maybe.
happen, right?
I mean, it
Extra
could
10
happen.
hours in a
Maybe
week?
5 of those hours I'd work out. I don't know what I would do with the other hours. I don't know.
All right, something to consider. And then if somebody wants to get in touch with you and learn more about your business, military, how can they get in touch with you? Where would they find you?
Melissa at NixonGroupLV.com.
Nixon Group, NIXONLV.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
NixonGroupLV.com.
Okay, great. Anything I didn't ask you that we should be talking about?
I don't think so.
What a whirlwind. What a great.
It's been a great 5 years, and I'm so excited to see the next 5 years.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be in
I can't
business
believe
with you.
I can't believe 5 years has already gone by.
Yeah.
Yeah, from that very first deal to
5 years and a gap year. Very impressive.
5 years in a gap year.
Yeah, I can't wait. The future is bright.
It is. I'm ready.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.